Never have I played a game that completely embodies that feeling of nostalgia. That dreamlike wonder and adventure is what fuels mine, Path to the Thalamus.
I assume a good chunk of people haven't heard of this game, which makes sense. It's the game that got its start on Steam Greenlight, and eventually was brought to fruition, is now available on Steam for $12.99, and I'm going to jump the gun and say, go buy it. I highly recommend this game. Just in case you don't want to watch the review, now you know it's worth it.
The game is an intriguing sense of organic atmosphere. The best way to describe mine would be a first-person puzzler, which I can get behind. I feel Magical Adventure Simulator would fit better, but hey. The game revolves around puzzle solving and adventure. In terms of puzzles, none of them pose too much of a challenge but add to the overall experience, dealing mostly with a few physics puzzles and heavily around these interesting nature mechanics. All of these elements really complement the game's beauty. The puzzles are fun and exciting to solve. In terms of adventure, this game is something else. I'm aware there's going to be heavy bias in this part, but the game is just so interesting to play, structured into multiple thematic areas ranging from forests to ice worlds to coastal oceans. It's quite spectacular.
The feeling this game instills you is pretty impossible to convey. I know this won't be for everyone, but I can't be the only one that had that childlike sense of something magical.
Generally speaking, mine is relatively simple in the game aspect and story. As stated before, it consists of casual puzzles and adventuring. There's only two controls really. Besides movement, there's only a jump and picking up items. The puzzles aren't too difficult, but fit perfectly with the overall experience. I guess I could say it would be nice to have a different difficulty, but it's not something that really hinders the game. The puzzles revolve around these neurons to trigger certain mechanics. Night creates blue portals in the doorways. Time reconstructs architecture to its former glory. Rain causes platforms to rise. Most of the challenge derives from having too few neurons and too many things needing to be activated. Most can be solved relatively easily with a mix of organized thinking and some physics. As for the story, it is pretty bland. It starts off really well with a great hook, but falls flat overall. Mixed with what I'd consider mediocre voice acting, really is the game's biggest issue. It's more or less the main character is in a coma being troubled by his past of losing his sister and almost his daughter. It's not awful, just really was the last thing I cared about. But this could have been a very personal thing for the developer.
Baby, please, please, baby, don't do this to me. Where are you? Sophia!
Not to sound insensitive, but there isn't too much to bring any of the characters to life. I didn't really care about Sophia or our main character. Truthfully though speaking, I didn't buy this game because I thought the story was going to be great. I bought this game on the atmosphere alone.
I vividly remember when I saw the trailer for this game. It reminded me a lot of the Japanese game LSD, a game I discovered years ago when I was still in high school. As much as I honestly love that game, I can admit as a game it's awful. It's literally an exploration simulator. There is no end, no story, no characters. You run around and just explore. And that's what I thought when I initially saw the trailer for this game, and really, that's exactly what I got. An exploration simulator, but with story and puzzles to help pull in others that aren't weirdos like myself into playing it. Graphically speaking, while not technically groundbreaking, the game looks immaculate. This is a perfect example of style versus sheer raw technical prowess. Every environment feels organic. The atmosphere is truly something awe-inspiring. Every area just has its own feeling to it. The wide open hill-covered plains to the oceanic coastal structures all give this game great variety and excitement. Like I said, if you're the kind of person that becomes bored quickly unless something dramatic is always happening, you will most likely not enjoy this game. The game is super subtle in every facet. Simplicity is the modus operandi.
Now, I've tried not to expose too much of the game because it is the kind of game where if you cover every aspect in too great of detail, you run the risk of ruining it for yourself. Games like Fez, Gone Home, and the Stanley Parable. I totally advise against watching an LP of this game. You're only spoiling it for yourself. It might even take away from your experience if you do decide to get it. Now, I know this won't be for a good chunk of people and they'll most likely find it boring, but if you're into any idea of traversing a magical landscape, then I highly recommend it. Even with no inherent replay value, I still like to come back to it every now and then and just explore it. Hopefully I've convinced you to get the game and maybe even like the review. I'll leave a link in the description for you below.